Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs Podcast, presented by Toyota, Schwarber, Tucker, Cease. But who are some of the other names that you might hear about and are a little bit less talked about? Plus, we're grading a Cub that was a ray of light in our darkest hours. More Boris puns? We'll try not to bore you with that. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast, driven by our friends at Toyota. Let's go places. We got a big show lined up for you. Justin Roman in the house.
Yes.
All roads lead to Rome. That's my new line for it.
Emmy
winner, whatever you want me to say.
Well, I prefer Emmy winner versus all roads lead to Rome. But, I mean, if I'm picking one, the Emmy, that's the way to go.
This is the Emmy winner show. That's how we do it. We got more Emmys than any other Cubs podcast out there.
We do. 4. We have 4 on this podcast.
That's right. I got some too. So we got handfuls of Emmys.
I didn't know that. We got to count up so we know exactly how many this podcast has.
That's right. More than anybody, I can tell you that much.
For sure.
So we have lots to talk about. The winter meetings are coming up eventually, but the GM meetings lay the groundwork for what's going on. And we always get our first taste of Scott Boras and his puns and all the players he's representing. You shake your head. I'm here for it. You know what? Every other agent is boring. This guy's just corny. I'm corny. So I'm okay with it. Like I know some of them are corny. The whole Bregman thing, him talking about the Tea Party in Boston, and he's throwing in Starbucks and Dunkin' today and Brexit.
But it was the Pete Alonso one that, for me, with all the P's in his speech, and I'm just like, I can't imagine him in his like boardroom with his like trusted confidants, and he's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do for the polar bear. I'm gonna say every single word with a P, and with a straight face he does this, and it's like, I mean, listen, he's the richest agent probably in the history of agents, right? Yeah. But he kind of annoys me. I'm not gonna lie.
He would annoy me less if his players would sign more often with the Chicago Cubs.
Agreed.
By the way, he was asked about Bellinger, right? And he was kind of like, he wants to be on a winner. What is that supposed to mean?
I know. He's very cryptic. Doesn't it seem like Scott Boras represents every single player known to man? I feel like he reps everybody. It's crazy.
Yeah, and XL is the other group, and the Cubs have tons of XL players. And Tucker's one we can talk about. I mentioned how those guys will all I don't know, that seems less and less likely every day. Not that I thought it was super likely anyways, but you hear more and more comments and you're like, just heard John Morosi on MLB Networks talking about, boy, the Dodgers have money to spend. Team we keep hearing, Dodgers have money to spend. And it's like, well, if he's going there, I sure hope he's the second half Kyle Tucker more than he is the first half Kyle Tucker.
Look, by the way, isn't it crazy that you're hearing that this super team, the Dodgers, have money to spend? Like, I am 1,000% against a work stoppage and a strike, but like, that's the problem with baseball is the Dodgers can grab Yamamoto, Ohtani for 10 years, but like not have the salary hit be what it really should be. There is a broken system in baseball. Baseball's never been better, never been healthier, but like there is a broken free agent system. And that right there from Rossi, the Dodgers, the super team, the Dodgers have money to spend, and they're just gonna gobble everybody up. And something has to be done about it. I agree.
Yes, something does have to be done, but I hope it doesn't drag out too long. I hope they can both just be realistic because, just not too long ago, a lot of people were saying, well, baseball's a dying sport. Baseball's a dying sport. It's too slow. And right now, you've got superstar players that are fun and exciting to watch, and you're connecting across the ocean. You're bringing in a huge Japanese audience with all the players that are coming over. And so it seems like the right time. Now, we know most of these owners, they're billionaires, right? Like, to say they don't have money is sort of ridiculous. Like, they do have money. It's whether or not they want to spend it on baseball players.
Right.
Like, they all wanted to be baseball owners, but do they want to spend it on baseball players? Whether or not the Cubs are going to be that team that goes back into the top 5, like, it's not like they haven't been in the top 5 in spending. Right. They have, but not recently, right? And now you have the work stoppage that you're talking about potentially coming up at the end of next season. And so the debate becomes who's spending this offseason, who's not worried about that work stoppage, and what are the philosophies of each team. Now, I've read everything from people feeling optimistic, whether it's Bob Nightingale, Bruce Levine, like people saying optimistic. The Cubs are going to be real players in free agency, and they're going to be one of the surprise teams. Cap this morning has the feeling that I kind of lean a little bit more towards what Cap is. Cap saying he's hearing from sources that no. If you think this is going to be a big splash offseason, pack up your bags now, because ownership is saying we don't want long-term deals, long-term money with a work stoppage likely coming after next season. So where does that leave you? Well, I hope it doesn't leave you doing 1-year buys like Tucker. Like, you can't do that 2 years in a row. No, you can't. You'll deplete your farm system. People are already a little upset about getting rid of Cam Smith, but you don't also want to get rid of Matt Shaw and Owen Casey. I mean, for the right trades, I'm all about the cost controlled trades. Having years of a certain player. But I'm a big Ricketts defender, and I know I might be called a homer because of this, but calling him cheap isn't accurate, because he has spent in the past, and Luke, you brought it up, he has been top 5 payroll before, and he has spent the money and pushed the chips in when he had to. I just wonder if it's strategic. Like, they didn't realistically think they're going to win the World Series last year. Maybe they think this is the year, and so you'll see maybe him flex those dollars. I hope. I'm being optimistic, I know, but to call him cheap outright isn't fair, because he has spent money in the past. And now listen, I would beg that he does it again, and I beg he does it this offseason as well. Well, I mean, they've spent a ton of money on Wrigley Field that other teams aren't spending, and they have spent a ton of money on the area around Wrigley Field. Yes. Which they now, hotels, rooftops, they own everything. Now, I think most fans would say, great, now that you've ensured that Wrigley Field is going to be a wonderful place for us to watch baseball and have concerts and all that stuff, can we go back to the focus of the stuff on the field now? Yeah. Like, now that you've got this other revenue source that has built up the price of the franchise, now can we go back to being a big boy? Yeah. Instead of a, if we're doing grades, right? We've been doing report cards. Yeah. What are we, a B? Yeah, are we playing like a B, or like, I don't know. I want to be an A+. I think we're playing like a B up until right now. And and again, the optimistic guy in me, I hope that he's ready to flex like an A this offseason, because the team is very close. I think we've all agreed, me, you, and Joe, we have agreed the team is very, very close. A nice young core, but it's time to supplement with some high-priced veteran guys. If you're asking me, Dylan Cease, which, by the way, heavy in the rumor mill for the Cubs, and I'm still with my heart, Kyle Schwarber is a perfect fit, but we'll see what happens. Well, Bruce Levine has been one of the people definitely dropping Dylan Cease's name a lot, a lot since the end of the season. And he interviewed Scott Boras, Cease's agent, in Vegas. Marquee put it out on their Twitter page. This is from Marquee Sports Network's Twitter page. This is Scott Boras talking Dylan Cease with their Bruce Levine.
Well, I think we all know how Dylan Cease pitches in Wrigley Field. He is dominant. And to have durability, to have dominance, he has got both. Other than Skubal next year, I don't see a pitcher in the market coming that is going to have the potentials that Cease has, and the proven element of durability to go along with that quality and potential. So 200 strikeouts a year, it's just not something the game has. Everybody knows that when you go into the playoffs, you want a number one. Why? You got a 5-game series. You want him to throw twice. You want to have that chance. You want to have your most dominant arm out there. That's why the Dodgers signed Blake Snell. And so those teams that are doing that are winning championships. And I think getting those types of arms are really, really increase your opportunity to achieve that.
He went with no puns on that one. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Now he did in the group one when he was talking about that. I think he offered up some the offers and bidders will never cease. The innings will never cease. The strikeouts will never cease. He's right about this. 200 strikeouts is something that would greatly improve the Cubs rotation, especially just in variety. Now, whether or not I can guarantee that he would be the number one with a rotation that might have Cade Horton pitching the way he pitched last year, that I can't guarantee. But there's no question he would upgrade not only the rotation, but the variety and the mix of the rotation. So if you're letting Shota go, I don't see how Cease isn't somebody that you have to consider. But from what Cap is saying, it's exactly the opposite. It's like, well, I mean, Dylan Cease isn't taking a 2-year deal.
Yeah, but the Cubs aren't dumb enough to offer Dylan Cease a 2-year deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is where it's one of those things where everybody can ho and hum about Ricketts until he does it. Remember before Jason Hayward in 2016, they'll never go that far, they'll never go that high, and they did, right? The year before with John Lester, they did. Dansby Swanson, they did. So it's like, yeah, you never do it until you do it. So they're not dumb enough to think Cease is going to accept a 2-year deal, or Schwarber for that matter. So if you're going to be a big boy and you want these big time players, you're going to have to go outside your comfort zone to get these guys. And I will tell you that a rotation that is, I don't care if it's 1A, 1B, however you want to say it, with Horton and Cease or Cease and Horton, that is a formidable top two. And now you're talking Matthew Boyd, you're talking hopefully Justin Steele comes back halfway through the season. Tyone, I mean, Steady Eddie, right? So you're looking at a rotation that's really, really, really good. And I don't even think they're done at that. I think if you sign Cease, I said before, I think it's a free agent signing with pitching staff, and I think it's a trade as well. We got some prospects that they need somewhere to play. So I think you're also going to see a package. Mackenzie Gore is out there, apparently very available. So I do think it's not only free agency, I think it's also the trade market. I think our starting staff in particular will be a strong point for 2026.
The only thing that's tricky, I hear what you're saying. The only thing that's tricky about like the Hayward or the Lester comparisons and those guys is that this work stoppage thing on the horizon. Like everybody thinks it's coming, right? And so even billionaires don't like to waste money. In fact, they really don't like to waste money.
Isn't every team in the same boat, though? It's not just the Cubs. Like every single team, it's almost like a level playing field.
What are you going to do? Just punt on 26?
Right, exactly.
That would be ridiculous.
And I don't even know. I'm not smart enough to know how it works. But like, if there's a work stoppage, the players don't get paid, right? I mean, so like, what are you? How are you wasting money? Again, they're all in the same boat together. Every team, not just the Cubs. So I would just do business as normal.
Burge on the live YouTube chat here at the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel has a pretty good comment here, I think. He says, if they let Shota go, I can't see them going after Cease and Valdez, although Walker Buehler and Miles Michaelis could be a bargain. So that's, I agree with you, woof. But if Cap is more right, then the others are right, and that this isn't smoke and mirrors, and they aren't going to spend big, and they're not going to be shopping at Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom. They're gonna go down, and go over to Macy's and see if they can find something on that discount table, and then they're gonna kind of go over here and they're gonna look. Hey, Target's got nice clothes. What can I find at Target?
Right.
Like, if that's the case, who are the other players that aren't as talked about, especially pitchers? Right? Like, where do they find that value? How do they find somebody that fits into that mix? Boy, there's been a lot of, the Imai we talked about yesterday. Then I've seen Bruce report that they would not be afraid to go all in on somebody like that. Well, that's not going to be a single year, like type thing. What are we talking about? What types of players? And it's not just, I know that Jed basically came out and said, well, we're going to focus on offense. And then Carter Hawkins backed it up. But there are still improvements you've got to make here coming up on the offensive side of the ball. So who are some of those other bargains? We're going to take a look at some of those coming up after the break. Do you think the Cubs will splash into the deep water and go after somebody like Cease and Schwarber and Imai? Or are we going bargain shopping this year? Let us know in the live YouTube chat. But first, a word from our sponsors on the CHGO Cubs podcast. Hey, Cubs fans, Toyota has 25 vehicles right now available with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. The RAV4 has legendary versatility. The Grand Highlander's adult size third row is for real, and the Tacoma's wild side, that comes standard. From job sites to campsites and game nights, there's an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota to get you there safely in style. Find yours at toyota.com or visit your Chicagoland Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. What a time it is right now to be a CHGO diehard. Upgrade your fandom today. Get access to our exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plus discounts on merch and events, and access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we hang out and talk Chicago sports and more. Go to allchgo.com for the latest information on how you can join all those sickos and diehards in our community already. We can't wait to connect with you on an even greater level. Branded Bills, whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, tees, Branded Bills has you covered with their performance and style. If you're looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear out there. Start your order, and they have a dedicated team that'll create an exact custom apparel that you need. They have a partnership with 40 colleges, including 10 Big Ten schools as part of their campus collection. Big Ten, they got Ohio State, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan State, Penn State, Purdue, and USC. Head to brandonbills.com and use the code BBCHGO for 15% off your first order. Back on the CHGO Cubs podcast, driven by our friends at Toyota. We're talking about whether or not the Cubs will go in the deep end and play, with the big boys. Go fishing with the big boys. Deep sea fishing. Are you going out there? Are you going to kind of hang around the kiddie pool and just kind of hang out there? Okay, here's the deal. I don't know if Tucker is off the books, right? And you're taking all these other guys off the books. And Hap will be off the books potentially in a year, and Seiya might be off the books in a year. And you're looking around, you're saying, well, Tyone could be off the books in a year. I understand that you want it to be down to almost nothing when you get to this work stoppage. And then maybe you'd have a blank canvas, if you will. If there is a work stoppage and a salary cap gets implemented, great. You might have an advantage over some teams, but you still have to have good players.
Yeah.
You still got to have really good players. And I'm not just talking about the young players, like extending PCA and these other things. And I see in the chat some people are talking about, listen, they told you they're only going for pitching. The offseason, specifically the GM meetings and the winter meetings, it's all smoke and mirrors. You don't know. I don't know if Cap is right or if Patrick Mooney is right. I don't know if Bruce Levine is right. I don't know if Bob Nightingale is right, because people are being told things for certain reasons. Right? Sometimes the GMs and presidents are being honest, and sometimes they are using the media. They just are, and that's the relationship out there. So we'll see. Let's start with other places. If we're not talking just the pitching, and I hope that Cease is the guy, right? Or a trade is in order there. I'm fine with Mackenzie Gore and the other avenues they could go. But who would be bargains to replace some other things? So if Tucker's gone in right field, the obvious cheapest route is to make Seiya your right fielder or your DH, and Owen Casey finally gets the job. But boy, that is rolling the dice on a young player and basically just handing him this job. Now you might have to do it sometime, but if he's not traded, is that the right route? Or can you find other ways, Justin, to spend the money?
Well, there's a couple of things here too, is that, Owen Casey got a cup of coffee and we loved what we saw out of him, right? So I'd almost argue you put Owen Casey in right field and then you have Seiya Suzuki be your DH. I think Seiya thrived as a DH, Again, if we got someone like Schwarber, Seiya, you're playing right field, thank you very much. But if it is the Casey route, Seiya's your DH, which would allow you to possibly go after Bregman again at third base, because they tried last year, it didn't work out, right? So I think we talked about this on the show before. Do the Cubs win the division and or go further with Alex Bregman as your third baseman versus Matt Shaw for a full year? I don't know the answer to that, but bottom line is you can improve in the DH, corner outfield spot, or at third base. I feel offensively, everything else is going to be status quo, and I like that. I like where we are throughout the diamond elsewhere, but there are bargains out there, and I think you're probably going right now to Joe Adell is what I kind of think you're going towards a trade. A former number 1 prospect, Joe Adell from the Angels, all the tools in the world this kid has, never really put it together, but man, he was a number 1 prospect for a reason, and a rebirth out of him on the cheap would be a very welcome surprise.
Yeah, he'll be 27 next season. I believe his birthday's in April, so basically all next year. Now, right-handed bat. So he's different in Tucker that way. 236 batting average last year, a 1.2 WAR, 37 home runs, and almost 100 RBI. Yeah, he was the 10th overall pick in like 2017. Listen, 37 home runs is nothing to sneeze at. But here's a guy who was obviously very highly thought of, and he's been given the opportunity with the Angels, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. 37 home runs grabs your eye.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been all, frosting for the Angels. There's been some bitter bites too. He has been inconsistent, and everything's not perfect. He also has had this weird, I guess for 2 years he's talked about it. He's had some moments off and on where he deals with vertigo. Listen, I had vertigo for like 2 years when I got out of, or 2 months when I got out of college. You can't do anything with vertigo.
Yeah.
When the room is spinning, you're not playing baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I hope that's right. I don't know if that's a reason to be concerned about, but what's the trade value there, and how do you fit him into? I've seen all the people talking about it, but what's the fit with Adell? Like, how do you put him on this team?
I mean, it's one of those things where, are you looking at platooning him in the corner with someone like Casey? He is right-handed. Casey's left-handed.
Okay.
That could be a very powerful right field, playing to the strengths, and Alsea is your DH. And then it would allow you to spend the big bucks on your pitching staff, the Dylan Ceases of the world or the Valdezes of the world. So I could see that possibly. And now listen, if one of those guys just runs with it, all right, you're my guy, but I mean, I guess just on the spot you asking me, that's where I think it would fit in. Is kind of like you would make a phenomenal Kyle Tucker-ish player in right field by platooning an Adell and Casey on their strong sides.
Yeah, I mean, if they're trading him, what do they really want back for a former top 10 pick who did hit 37 home runs, and power does play in Major League Baseball? That if he's available, the Cubs won't be the only team calling. So then it becomes just like every other deal we talk about. Well, if he is only going to be a half with Casey back and forth platoon, what are you really willing to give up for that gamble?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, who are you willing to trade? Because I'm sure they don't want to just give up on a guy that hit 37 home runs is only going to be 27 too. They might be tired of the story.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of potential there. Like, you don't want to just walk away with it. You want to make sure you're getting back something of equal value. So I agree. Like, platoon would be the place I would kind of look at it, like an extra outfielder. But I can't take him and just place him in right field and say he's our right fielder, not knowing. I mean, he was a 1.2 WAR player player last year. He's not a perfect player.
Yeah. And Luke, one more thing too, I'll say is that don't forget, Happ and Suzuki are up at the end of next year. Yeah. So it's not like right now we have a jam of outfielders. We do, right? But it's not like you can figure out a spot if they both thrive. And I see Craig commented you could also platoon him with Ian Happ. Okay, I hear you. Mm-hmm. Happ's last year of his deal. If he goes into a big time lull, I could see that as well, right? He's a switch hitter, but like ultimately he's better from the left side. So, I would never say no to taking a bet on a former, I believe he was top 10 pick, but I think he was the number 1 prospect in all of baseball at one point. So he is a very high pedigree guy. And you might be jammed up this year, but you know what? If you trade for him and you do platoon him with whoever, one more year, now both corner spots are available. And these could be your guys if they show you they belong, which would allow you to maybe free up some trade possibilities for Alcantara and Ballesteros possibly. A good problem to have, but you want talent, and there's no doubt Joe Adell has talent.
And there's no question that a combo of Happ and Adell or Casey and Adell is a much cheaper route than whatever Kyle Tucker or Kyle Schwarber is going to get. So now ownership's kind of like, whoa, we might be in on that deal. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not it's actually better than the Cubs offense that was put out last year, my answer would be no if you're talking about the first half of the season. If Kyle Tucker goes out and is the player that he was,
right,
then it's just frustrating that they're not going to be in on that conversation, because why make that trade for 1 year if you're not going to be in on that conversation?
No, I agree.
If you don't believe he's that guy, that's another that's totally different script. But I don't know if that's the case.
I agree with you. I think we watched it in real time. We were all super high on Kyle Tucker. There's a video of me going crazy when the trade broke last offseason. I mean, I'm with my girl. We were at a Mexican restaurant. I had to go out and do a video. I was so psyched that we got Kyle Tucker. She's like, what are you doing? But I was so excited. But in real time, you saw the excitement go from like here to then here to, I mean, by the end of the year, you say that maybe the Angels got tired of Joe Adell. Towards the end of the year, I was getting sick of Kyle Tucker. And I know he's a great ball player, but at this point, you just don't know what you're getting out of him. And if you're going to put $400 million in front of him or whatever it is, you got to kind of know who that person is. And I'm just not sure the past 2 years, any of us know who Kyle Tucker is. No,
we don't. But I the thing that I keep reminding myself of is he was hurt.
Yeah.
Like when he wasn't hurt, he was everything. Now, I don't know if you can judge the guy and say because he's had 2 years with lots of injuries that he's injury prone. I don't know what to say. And I blame him and the team for the way things were handled. And that led to some of the bitterness from everybody going like extend Tucker to booing him at Wrigley Field. But man, if he goes to the Dodgers and is that first half guy, what are we doing? We rented him for a year and then we just let the Dodgers sign him. That would be.
You and I both agree though it was worth the gamble last offseason. Hindsight is 2020. We can all be like, oh, it'd be nice to have Cam Smith right now. But listen, hindsight's 2020. Last offseason, I don't think there were many people that were against that trade. I know, Luke, you and I both are on the same page here. It was worth a shot. And unfortunately, it just didn't work. Now, listen, could they re-sign him? Sure. But I felt like for a while they weren't going to. And it seems like the media is kind of also agreeing.
Let's say if they make this a trade and they get Adell and they have Casey and they have Seiya for 1 more year, the one thing that they still wouldn't have is they wouldn't have star power, which is the whole reason I wanted them to go sign Kyle Tucker. That would mean this franchise, at least for next year, would be gambling once again that now they saw enough of his PCA. Are you going to consider PCA a superstar? I don't know. For part of the year he was. Is Michael Busch going to continue his elevation, leveling up each? I don't know, but gambling that one of those two will be a superstar player next year is real risky. When you're talking about competing with teams that have not 1, not 2, but 3, maybe 4 superstars, right? Like that's who we're trying to compete with. I know we're talking about the Brewers in the division, but you're still have to compete with the teams that have the superstars. That's my problem.
Yeah. What's the cliche though, Luke? What wins championships, right? Pitching and defense.
Defense, yeah.
Defensively, we can all agree we're phenomenal defensively. I mean, we won the Gold Glove Award as a team, right? So if you spend all those dollars, and again, if you spend that money, which I am believing they will, if you spend all those dollars on your pitching staff and you get a Dylan Cease to head up the rotation to pair up with Horton and maybe make a trade for a Mackenzie Gore or whoever, one of the guys from Miami, like then you can kind of roll the dice with Casey and Adell because offensively really wasn't our problem. I know we went through a little bit of lulls, but like offensively for a while, we were really, really clicking. And what wins championships? Pitching and defense. So you'd spend the money on the pitching. The defense is already there. And I feel like we have offense. And also, by the way, just because you're trading for someone like Adell and trying out, you're not punting on the season. One of these guys could have a phenomenal year. But by the way, Adell had a good year last year with 37 bombs. He's had almost 100 RBIs. That's a lot. That's more than Kyle Tucker did. Yeah. So you're not punting, but maybe, just maybe, the dollars are better spent in the pitching staff, and you got to let the kids play at some point. And why not next year?
I think if you have Adell and Casey, you're going to have plenty of Adell, Casey, and Seiya. You have plenty of power in right field. And if you get Hap gives you what he gives you every year, you got plenty of power there. Now, whether or not you get 30 home runs from PCA is another question. Now, outfield isn't the only place the Cubs can improve with or without Tucker, right? Like if Tucker comes back, then they need good Tucker. That will greatly improve the team.
Right.
If he doesn't come back, all right, that's a spot where we can find some improvement. What about somewhere on the infield? That's what we're going to talk about next. And here's maybe another name that's just off the radar a little bit, but could some smaller additions, but still pretty big deals, improve the Cubs offensively and defensively? We'll talk about that next. Let us know what you think in the live YouTube chat here on the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by Toyota. Looking for a new vehicle? Well, new vehicles are in store right now at our favorite place, Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. This is your chance to score a great deal at the Black Friday sales event. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 today to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. Right now, you can get 0% financing for 60 months on all new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee L models, or get this, up to 10 grand off MSRP. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles that are priced under $20,000. The team at Ray CDJR is there to help you with each step of your car shopping journey. They prioritize affordability, so you know you're not going to overpay for that new ride. Go check out our partner today. Shop one of the area's largest inventories and find that new vehicle for you, and make sure you drive home happy. Don't miss out on their Black Friday sales event. It's on Route 12 in Fox Lake, or raycdjr.com, serving the community since 1963. You know that moment when you realize, oh no, I left my favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of the car, or the kids broke them, or I left them at a gas station 3 states away. I've been there in all those situations. Well, then I found Shady Rays, and it changed the game for me. These are sunglasses made for real life, seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupid expensive. Here's the wild part. If you lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays is going to send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, and around kids, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We're teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer right now. ShadyRays.com. Use the code CHGO. 35% off their polarized sunglasses. Don't miss out on the deal. Will the Cubs spend big this offseason? Will they make big trades this offseason? Or are we going to be sitting here after New Year's, heading into spring training going, what are we going to do for the next year while we wait for a work stoppage to most likely happen? Now, so we talked about some ideas. We've floated whether it should be Schwarber, whether it should be Kyle Tucker, whether it should be Joe Adell, whether it should be somebody else, right? Well, let's all go on the assumption Tucker's gone, and that they're going with, whether it's Adell or not, Casey's going to be in the outfield. He's going to get his shot. Mo Baller's going to get some chances to be the DH when they play, I guess, say it in right sometimes, probably, or one or the other, but they're going to try and find ways for Mo Baller if they don't trade him. So how else do you improve this offense? You greatly improved catcher last offseason. You got this great season from Carson Kelly. You got a great season. I don't think you're upgrading first base with Michael Busch. He's on the rise. You're not upgrading most likely second base because you got a great season from shortstop. Yeah, if you could work something out, but you've talked about how important defense is to you.
Yeah.
So what about Bo Bichette? I wanted to get Bo Bichette a couple years ago when he was at his lowest price possible. Like he was almost certainly gone for the Blue Jays, right? I thought that's a done deal, and they stuck with him, and they got all the way to almost winning the World Series, all the way to a Game 7, right?
Inches from winning the World Series.
Inches away from winning the World Series. So a lot of teams, according to reports, have been calling and asking Bichette's representatives, would you play third? Would you play second base? And just trying to up his value. Now, he's going to be 28 years old next season. 18 homers last year, a 3.8 FWAR, 134 WRC plus. Here's the home run deal. It is declining. He went from 29 to 24 to 20. Then that season, a year ago, 4 home runs where I said, man, I would jump. I would see if they'll bite and think, wow, look at that decline, and figure out if you can't turn them around. And that was, you'd have another year before. That was my hope for like third base last year. but then he went and hit 18 again. I don't know what he's going to cost.
A lot.
But if you're saving the money on Tucker, can you upgrade that and turn Shaw into a utility player? Can you turn him into Willie Castro?
A better version, hopefully.
Yeah. I like Bichette. I also like the idea of Bichette going back to shortstop when Dansby's done.
Well, I think, bless you, by the way. I think that Dansby still has, 4 more years on his deal, I want to say. So I think more recently than that will be, Nico Horner. I think he's up way sooner. I would like Nico to be a Cub for life. I love Nico Horner. But my point is if you sign Bo Bichette, you could conceivably put him back at second base if Nico ever walks or whatever. Let me ask you a question. I love Bo Bichette. I really do. I also love second half Matt Shaw. I really think second half Matt Shaw was really, really good. Defensively, he was always elite. Would you rather spend and invest the money in Bo Bichette for third base and you kind of are hoping for the high end, or someone like Alex Bregman and you can kind of, what you're getting out of him? If you're going to upgrade third base, who would be preferred for you?
I don't think Bo Bichette is the perfect answer anymore. It's probably Bregman for me, but it's whether or not you believe in Shaw. Like how much do the Cubs believe that Shaw will be the middle, right? Like you certainly can't have him be the first half Matt Shaw.
Right.
And you certainly can't have him be playoff Matt Shaw. But can you thread the needle and get the guy that had 12 home runs after the All-Star break? Well, that guy plays.
Absolutely.
Because if he does it for a year, 12 home runs could be 20 home runs. And now you're talking about Bo Bichette. Right? So, and his defense was the surprise that everybody had. Now, that also points out that if you're willing to play and fish in the deep sea, that player has lots of value too, potentially. Some team might look at that and say, wow, we can bet low right now. But some of these mid-market teams that are hanging on, or the Nationals looking for Mackenzie Gore, and they're saying, well, Matt Shaw is pretty interesting. What if we could do this for you? And then you try to fill third base with Bregman or Bichette or whomever. Like, I don't know how many chess pieces Jed is willing to push around with the work stoppage coming. Like, how creative is he going to get for 1 year? You just want to say, let's we had a good team. Let's see if we can just keep it here for 1 more year. And if we get lucky, if everybody exceeds projections one more time, we could be in the NLCS if everything plays right. If Matt Shaw can do that, if Owen Casey can give us what we got from Kyle Tucker over a full season and more. But that's a lot of gambling on a lot of young players to have linear progress and ups and downs that can sink a season.
I've talked about it before. There are multiple ways to get this team back to the playoffs and go further, And I'm not saying it's the best one, but one of those ways is to literally let the kids play. I love Shaw. The kid has hit wherever he's been. He has shown he can hit in the major leagues. I know that he slumped towards the end. The playoffs, he got exposed. The playoffs, he looked overmatched, but it was his first time in the playoffs, right? He's hit wherever he's been. So I like Matt Shaw at third. Elite defense has been great. Michael Busch is on the rise. I mean, he's been great. PCA, I know, listen, for a while we thought PCA was going to be a 50-50 guy first half of the season, right? So those tools are there. Now, I don't know what he got in his head, whatever happened, but ultimately, there's a way to get back to the playoffs and beyond by kind of letting these kids play and spending whatever budget you have. And I hope it's a big budget, spending that budget on pitching. Because there's this old cliche, you can't have enough pitching, and that's right. I want Justin Steele to not even be a thought. And if he comes back in the second half and becomes 90% of who he was, oh my God, great problem to have. You can never have enough arms. So I love putting dollars and trade capital into the rotation, ultimately the bullpen as well, and then letting Mo Baller and Casey and Shaw and PCA continue to get better. You could catch lightning in a bottle in many areas.
Yeah, I see Keegan in the live YouTube chat says, "Hey, Chicago, what do you say? How about gambling on some players today?" Let's not throw the word gambling next to players right now in Major League Baseball. Please,
All right.
let's not do that. I got a question because you're always very positive about the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, I try.
That's your persona, right?
Yeah.
If the Cubs were to go this route where a lot of young guys are just going to, this is it, sink or swim.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have the most confidence in? Who do you have the least confidence in? Like, how does that rank? For me, I think Bush might be the most confident at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I go, that's tough for me. I have a lot of confidence in PCA. I really, really do. I feel like someone like PCA, you know what? My answer is PCA. I think I have the most confidence in PCA. I understand why you chose Bush because I mean,
I could go PCA though too.
Yeah, PCA because of his legs, and I just feel like I know, and what I'm about to say doesn't make sense because I know second half PCA had a slump, but with that speed and your bunting ability, they call it like a slump buster. Like you can get on base in many ways and create havoc on the base pass. Now, what PCA showed first half of last year was more power than any of us thought he had. So the guys got power, right? Power and speed. You're talking about like few guys had that. Acuna has that. You know, I mean, there are a few guys that have that skill set. And by the way, no, I don't care what the fans voted. He's the best defender in all of baseball. So ultimately, I think I have the most confident in PCA. Plus, he has a swagger to him and almost an arrogance, a confidence to him, where I think if anybody hated what happened last year, it was PCA. And I think he's going to work his butt off all offseason to make sure that prolonged slump never happens again. So my answer for most confidence is definitely PCA. Least amount of confidence in those young guys, I mean, I'd have to go with Casey and Mo Bala only because they didn't play as much as the Shaws and the Shaw has a bigger sample size where now next year he's kind of going into his second year, where Casey and Mo Bala are still going to kind of have their first year next year in whatever role they have.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, think about it. That's a lot of guys to have full confidence in if you're talking about really being a team that wants to compete to at least get to the World Series, right?
Yeah, right.
Have another series. Like you're talking about Casey, you're talking about Ballesteros, you're talking about Shaw, you're talking about Bush, you're talking about PCA. And then you go to the pitching side. I guess you're counting on Wiggins and listen, that's what we've asked for. We've asked for development from within so that you can afford to let guys go. And that's how you keep the system going. That's how the Astros have been successful for like 10 years.
Well, Luke,
because they don't overpay for guys when they've actually outplayed the market a little bit and they're not worth it anymore because they always have that next young guy to come in and fill that spot.
Yes.
I want that. But I don't know if these Cubs prospects are going to fill that hole.
Luke, let me say this. 2016, Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, Russell, Contreras. Sometimes you got to let these guys play, you know? Now, listen, I personally don't think that all five that I mentioned of our rookies currently, or young guys, if you will, are going to play next year. I think there's a trade happening. You can't keep all these guys. There aren't enough spots. But my point is that young guys can win the World Series. And we're coming up on 10 years, but it was a young core of ours that did win the World Series. But I'll add, they supplemented with the John Lesters and the Jason Haywards. For me, that's the Dylan Ceases and hopefully the Kyle Schwarbers. So ultimately, like, you can win with young guys. And at some point, you got to let these guys play. So, spending $40 million a year on Alex Bregman, or are you banking that Matt Shaw's the real deal, and that money could best be served in the rotation? That's kind of my point is like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for us to let some of these young guys develop as long as you are spending the money on the pitching staff.
I'm okay with having 4 out of 5, but I'm with you. Somebody's got to get dealt.
Yeah.
And you may regret it, but that's just the way it is. Like you have to go get somebody. If you're just going to say, we're going to play all these young guys and the work stoppage is coming up and we're doing it because we're trying to save money for whatever the team.
No,
that's not the right path for the Cubs. That's the right path for the Pirates, the Reds, the White Sox, the Brewers even, but that shouldn't be the path for the Chicago Cubs. Yes, Sean.
You don't need to slander the White Sox. Oh, of course I have my camera.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, we didn't need the side swipe, okay?
No. It's we know that Jerry's not going to spend that money. They've got to do it with player development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, that being said, the Chicago Cubs should take advantage of teams like that. And I see in the chat, Uncle Ted, Mitch Keller is a name that I've been seeing a lot too. Like, listen, I am a big fan of Mitch Keller. I told you guys many times, I think we're getting a free agent starter. I hope Dylan Cease. And I think we're going to trade for a starter. A Cease and Keller offseason for our pitching staff, I'd be thrilled with those two. I know you're saying Joe Ryan as well. I think Joe Ryan is going to cost you an arm and a leg. Mitch Keller will cost less, but I think grabbing a Dylan Cease or a Valdez on the high end and then trading for someone like Mitch Keller, man, our rotation is pretty darn good.
Well, and we still have to wait until the 18th. We only have 5 more days to figure out,
right.
Well, what's Shota going to do? Is he going to take the qualifying offer, or now do you have to negotiate like every other team, and at what rate do you want to go there? The thing that scares me about Shota is that he's another guy that doesn't throw hard and strike out enough.
Yeah.
And on the positive side, I don't think you can afford to let pitching walk away. If he's willing to give you a discount, you can't afford to let pitchers just walk away.
Agreed, but at this point, if he declines the qualified offer, then you kind of almost have to let him walk away. I know you could renegotiate, but I'd rather use those dollars and upgrade heavily, like with Dylan Cease. And I mean, I would probably rather have Mitch Keller in my rotation. The guy throws hard than a soft tossing lefty like Shota Imanaga, who we saw the decline of him in real time as well. And I want to a comment, Johnny Wateris says, tired about hearing the work stoppage, lame excuse. I'm with you. And I'm with you. It stinks. I don't want to hear it as an excuse, because what I said earlier in the chat here is that every team is going through it. It's not just the Cubs are going to have to deal with the work stoppage if it happens. Every team in baseball. So in my opinion, you're on a level playing field with it. And also, by the way, one thing that hasn't been mentioned, it might not happen. Maybe, just maybe, the players union and the owners aren't stupid enough to let the golden era of baseball right now fall flat on its face over greed and selfishness. Maybe they go to the last minute and they figure something out. I'm hopeful of that as well. If I had to bet, I'm probably thinking a work stoppage is going to happen, but maybe they're just like, we cannot afford to let this sport take a step back, because it hasn't been better in a very long time.
Justin, just as you said though earlier, I mean, you want something to be done to free agency. So if the Dodgers are the only team having fun in free agency, maybe you can include the Mets and Yankees. If the 20 other 7 teams are not having fun, just like you aren't having fun, this is why we have to be realistic about the work stoppage, because baseball hasn't been afraid to strike out its players. It's happened in 94? It happened in 2023. I think it happened one other time as well. This is just the reality of baseball.
So, Sean, but what I'm saying though is that I agree, something has to be done, but something can get done before a strike happens. They can negotiate tomorrow. They can come to an agreement on what needs to be done. The free agency is broken for sure, but they literally can come to an agreement without having to strike. And I would argue that the salary cap is one thing. I think a salary floor is way more important to me, because I think teams like the Pirates, the White Sox and the Marlins, they should have to required to spend X amount of dollars. And I think then the players are happier because there's more money to go around as well.
Yeah, and I understand what Johnny's saying. I don't want to hear about it or talk about it either, but you also can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
If your owner is thinking about it, and all the owners are thinking about it, but specifically your owner is thinking about it, we can't ignore it. Now, he hasn't shown us otherwise that it's not going to be a problem. So far, like Justin said at the beginning of the podcast, right now, if you had to bet which way are the Cubs going to go, you're going to go – most people would put their money, their hard-earned money, and say Cubs will go conservative this offseason. I don't want that. Justin doesn't want that. Cubs fans don't want that.
No.
But is it the most likely route based on what we've heard and seen from the organization since about 2017? The answer is yes. So we can't just ignore the fact that there's a possible work stoppage coming, because I think our owner is thinking about it a lot right now. So if you're looking for cheaper ways to do something, again, not what we want, but the Cubs found success in that last year. If it's not Cease and they do let Shota walk, how do they find guys that are dependable and good and might strike lightning in a bottle and give you your next Brad Keller, your next, should I say, Colin Ray, because he's our report card today, our CHGO Cubs report card. Now, I like to give players, you can do it any way you want, Justin. But in this one, we went regular season, playoffs, and overall grade. I like to consider a guy for a couple of things. A, what are they paying him? Like, what are they really counting on him? What are they expecting out of this guy? And B, then, well, okay, how does he stack up against other pitchers? I have a tough time just giving a guy an A because, well, we didn't expect anything and he's an average pitcher. Well, that's not an A. That's just an A for who we wanted him to be on this team.
Right.
So I want to sort of blend that. So for my regular season, I gave him a B. He double-digit wins, and without him, after the Steele injury, where would they be?
Right.
They would not be in the playoffs without Colin Ray. So I hope they can find another guy like him, and now he's going to be back. That's good news. As for the playoffs, he went like 7 2/3 innings with he was great. Again, where would the Cubs be without Colin Ray? In the postseason, they would have been nowhere. Once again, he was as dependable. It was Tyone and Ray, and then Boyd at the end. So I gave him a B+. Overall, a B because he doesn't stack up against Yamamoto. He doesn't stack up against even Cade Horton or the other greats in baseball. But for what they asked him for and what they were paying him for, he was exactly the same guy he was in Milwaukee a year before. His stats are staggeringly almost the same guy in Milwaukee, which is, as Craig Counsell said going into the season, you sign him and you kind of say to him honestly, well, we kind of hope you don't have to pitch for us.
Right.
But we know you will have to pitch for us, and we know we can count on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's back. You don't want him to be your number 2 starter next year. You'd like him to be your number 7 starter.
Mm-hmm.
But if he gets forced into action, I believe Colin Ray will give you good innings again. I gave him a B.
Those grades are pretty much what I would do as well. I go B across the board. I remember it a little differently in the postseason. I don't think he was great in the he was good in the postseason, but I would do B across the board. The value was A++++. I mean, we signed him for I think $5 million in the last offseason. So what we got out of him, not expecting him to be in our rotation, he was a pleasant surprise. And I think I saw a post that his past 3 years have been fairly consistent of the numbers. He's definitely kind of you can pencil this in on what he's going to do. And I love that they re-signed him for I believe it's a 1-year deal with a team option for a second year. So that's a great contract. I mean, Colin Ray on a team is very, very valuable, but you're right, Luke. I don't want him in my top 5 rotation. But man, if an injury happens or Steele doesn't come back like we think he's going to come back, having a guy like Colin Ray to give you those steady innings and the quality starts is definitely a nice thing to have for sure.
Yeah, you have to find somebody like that. I hope they still go out and find their Boyd. I hope they go out there and still find another Colin Ray to go with Assad, because injuries can deplete a season and end a season before it's even started. That's the problem. That's why Ray was so valuable. Now, maybe that is Zach Gallen. I don't know. Maybe adding Gorn and Cease, well, obviously that would be a dream if you could add those 2 to the rotation.
Absolutely.
And again, I'll say a million times on this podcast, I wish the Cubs would not worry about money. And yeah, I would like Schwarber and some other things. I wish they would start the trend of stockpiling starting pitching. So much starting pitching that you're like, where are they going to throw all these guys? Where are they going to put these starters? And then you go to a 6-man rotation, or you start doing piggybacks early in the season and guys are only going 4 innings, 5 innings, and you're stretching them out. And when you get to the trade deadline, you pick the ones you're confident in, and the ones you're not, you go stock your farm system so that's healthy the next year. That's the way you can do it. You're not going to need all of them if you stockpile it now, but you don't have to pay them for a whole year. You don't have to pay their whole contract if you pick the guys that have tradable deals, because somebody's always going to overpay at the deadline.
Yeah, and Jed Hoyer found that out very quickly this past deadline, and that's another thing. I don't understand why people are so pessimistic about the Cubs acquiring starting pitching this offseason, because Jed out of his mouth told you that the prices were way higher than they thought they were going to be at the deadline. And then the question was asked, does that mean your offseason plan will be a little different this year? And he said, yeah. He said, yeah. And then at the meetings a couple of days ago, he said starting pitching or pitching is the focus, and they'll be shopping at the high end and The low end, I mean, he didn't discount anything. So, I know you got to take it for face value, but at the end of the day, we all saw that play out as well. We did not get Mackenzie Gore because the price was astronomical. Yep. So all right, you got to sign a top of the rotation type pitcher this offseason. And then I do believe a trade will happen. And yeah, I mean, Cease and Gore would be a dream come true. I even think Cease and Keller, for me, I'd be thrilled with both those guys.
Oh, I would be too. It's interesting because he's talking about how they're going to be shopping. I just don't want them to be only browsing. Yeah. I've gone shopping too, and I walk by all the, everything. Oh, wow, that's real. Oh, feel that. Did you feel how soft that was? And then you look at the price tag, and now I'm just browsing. Okay.
Right.
So let's not go through that exercise. Hey, did you notice, speaking of, really fine fabric or something like that, Skubal and Skeens, they win it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Skubal is back-to-back for the first time in the American League since Pedro.
Wow.
I hope that Cade Horton can be a guy that factors into that National League decision next year. Mm-hmm. But tonight is the big one. Who wins American League MVP? Ohtani's going to win the National League.
Yeah.
He's going to beat Schwarber. But who's going to be the American League MVP? Who do you think deserves it? Judge or the Big Dumper?
I told you earlier, I believe the Big Dumper is the sexy choice. I think people sometimes take Aaron Judge for granted. I think that, the Big Dumper was quite a story where it's like, oh my God, this guy hit all these bombs, and you could tell, man, MLB was pushing him. They're pushing that, and I respect it and I love it. It's great, but you're almost taking for granted how phenomenal Aaron Judge is and what his numbers were. I think that, for me, I would rather have Aaron Judge on my team than the Big Dumper. Now, I wouldn't cry at either one of them, but Aaron Judge it's hard to bet against that guy.
Yeah. And people argue, well, it's the best player on the best team, and the Mariners were better, and he carried them more than maybe even Judge carried the Yankees. It's in one set of circumstances, it's hard to bet against the guy that hits 60 home runs at catcher.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
A catcher that hits 60 home runs, that's hard to say he's not the MVP in that season. But when the other guy has a 204 WRC plus, is a 10 F4, and hit 53 homers, so he's not that many behind.
No.
And he hit 331.
That's the thing. He hit 331 with 50-something RB. I mean, home runs. It's almost like the new shiny object is put in front of you as the Big Dumper, and you're forgetting about just how amazing the other guy is, because the other guy is Aaron Judge,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. I'm just saying, for me, Aaron Judge is the best of the best.
Yeah, I think it's Judge, and the Big Dumper is the Silver Slugger winner.
Yeah.
That means nothing, right? Like, it does. It means nothing. He's put up probably the greatest catcher season of all time.
Yeah, and
I don't know that makes him the MVP, though. It doesn't make him the best player that year.
Uncle Ted has written a couple comments here about, he did all that while catching all these insane games. Yeah. I mean, I hear you. I totally hear you. And listen, I was ready to riot when Cade Horton got snubbed for Rookie of the Year. If they named the Big Dumper the MVP, I get it. I understand. I'm just saying, I believe that the MVP of the American League is Aaron Judge, and we're almost just taking him for granted because there's this new shiny object in front of us.
And he should be, I still think, of all the players, like Ohtani's contract was insane. And he clearly wanted to go to the Dodgers.
1,000%.
And he offered this deal, and the Cubs didn't want to get creative, and they don't want to do deferred money. But don't make the same mistake you made with Aaron Judge. I don't know that there's a player out there that's like Aaron Judge this offseason. I don't think Tucker's Aaron Judge. I don't think Schwarber's Aaron Judge, as much as I love him. But the number will be lower than Judge, too. And Judge, I don't know why the Cubs didn't go all in on him, but I don't want them to miss out on a player like that or close to that just because there's a potential work stoppage coming after next season. Don't look that short in front of your face. Look in the future. What is the guy's deal going to be worth in 5 years? And can he get you to the promised land and turn your franchise back into must-watch baseball every year.
And
right?
Aaron Judge was a yes to that question. Aaron Judge was yes, but is Kyle Tucker for sure yes? That's the difference. Aaron Judge was a slam dunk yes. Is Kyle Tucker?
And they didn't even touch it.
No.
Just want to add, just to kind of further the point about Judge being ridiculous, only 8 players since 1995 have had a weighted runs created plus of 200 in a season that have played. Soto did it as well in 2020, but it was only 47 games. Judge did it in 2025. He did it in 2022. He did it in 2024. The only other player to do it multiple times, Barry Bonds from 2001 to 2004. And the final player on that, 1998, Mark McGwire, who we knew was juiced to the gills along with Bonds.
What?
So,
what?
Aaron Judge, what are you doing? What do you want?
So Sean, you would go Judge too?
I get it's about one F4 separating Judge and Raleigh. So if somebody does want to give it to him because of the catcher aspect, the fact that he hit 161 weighted runs created plus at catcher, doing that every single day, I could hear the argument. So I'm with Roman that I don't think there's a wrong choice. I think both are historical seasons, so it's a great thing for baseball.
Yeah, agreed.
I just wish they were both on the Cubs.
Same.
We have Corey and Brendan coming up with the Cubs-related podcast tonight. Justin, we're going to be back on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't want to tease it because sometimes things fall through, but we're going to have a special guest. I think we're going to have a special guest on Monday's show. We'll be in studio. And we'll have somebody calling
Not talking
in.
Not talking about me.
No, you're already special. You're going to be there in person.
Somebody else.
I'll be there with you, but somebody bigger than us.
Wow.
That's saying something.
All right.
Really saying something. All right. Thanks. Everybody else have a good weekend. Make sure you tune in to Corey and Brendan tonight. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.